Hey guys, what is going on? So defending the B side of Cash, there's multiple ways to do it. Rain loves to be aggressive, obviously he's most famous for being an aggressive CT player, probably an overpass, but even on Cash, he's very good at playing this checkers area, up in B main, applying pressure to the other team, denying information from them, denying map control, but also getting a little bit of extra information for Faze. We're going to see this quite a good example in this particular round, and also later in the round, how he's very good at playing around the T side's utility, the utility they throw, and almost using it against them in a way, which is quite interesting, and it's a great read he often makes in different scenarios. We'll talk about that more a little bit in a second. So as Karrigan rotates off, as Guardian got picked early in this one, Rain's going to drop his own smoke, and again, just looking for information. He's often very active looking around the edges of smokes, and he sees nothing in this scenario. So this gives the indication over towards Faze that could potentially be some kind of A split. And then as this smoke fades, he moves back into his favorite position, which is checkers. And as I pause this, notice the fact that Nico has been mollied off this white box, so he does have to check vent quickly, make sure no one slipped out. But he also puts himself a spot on the map where he can reposition very easily. He's quite close to that entrance just behind him, so he can move, and we'll see this more prominent in future rounds. But as he moves, as his crosshair moves back off this angle, notice Nico has that angle as he swaps, and then he's going to just move back even further into position where he can reposition no matter how he wants to and take a different angle. And at this point, it's as simple as just using your sound cues. Very little utility use of this on Tyloo. Often B hits used a little bit more, so we'll talk about that more in a second. But he just uses his sound cue, trusts the angle he's going to hold, and just takes out these players, trusting that the double peak can't come in perfect. It's a bit of a weird angle where he's playing right now, and have someone coming through checkers and also checking him from running in the middle of B side. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like this is a definite double peak by Tyloo in this scenario. He puts himself in a situation where he can easily isolate these fights most likely, and the timing isn't going to be perfect from the T side. That's exactly what happens. He takes out these first two players, enough time for that counter Molotov to come in from Karrigan, and he just repositions, takes that third angle. It's just confidence almost, trusting the sound cues he makes, and just picking an angle to watch, and really it's just as simple as reading the game. I mean, it's not very hard to use your ears to hear the sound of the footsteps. And basically this particular round is as simple as that. Not rocket science, anyone can really do it. And obviously if you're playing these more aggressive setups in the checkers area or around close to that area of the map, staying alive is a huge deal because it makes it very difficult for the T side to progress further on the map and just basically advance any players playing with you. And this is often the case when Rain plays with Guardian, is he puts himself in a position where it's very hard to kill Guardian because Rain is just going to play a position where you have to go through him first. And as per usual, he's very good at staying alive, using his utility and again, the opposition's utility against them to make it very difficult for them to get any further than he might want them to. So you can see in this particular scenario, he's going to play with Guardian, they're going to play together in a bit of bait and switch setup. Molotov comes in, so he's forced out. Guardian does Guardian things, he likes to put out Molotovs, peek over the top of it. But again, notice Rain positions himself around the smoke that Cloud9 have already thrown. So if they want to get to Rain right now, they have to go through this smoke. He knows they're not in checkers straight away because Guardian went back for that peek. And he just has time to set up this crossfire with the Guardian. So Guardian does peek into the smoke, just firing off a shot. But you can see the crossfire that is about to come in right now. Guardian can post on this angle with his AWP eventually, and both players can just run a crossfire right now. Anyone trying to cross to checkers, Guardian's got them. Anyone that's already in there who crossed with the smoke, Rain has. And this is a great strong setup, especially with Karrigan, almost just as a bonus in the vent in this scenario. And you can see how it's going to be very difficult. The first point of contact is most likely Guardian, even if it does become Rain. Guardian can still swing, or if anyone tries to swing onto Rain from this close angle, Guardian has them covered. So again, playing very well as a two-man unit. You can see that's exactly what happens in this particular scenario. Even as Guardian gets smoked off by the second smoke coming in, Rain puts himself in a spot where you might try and come through fast to take out this AWP, but Rain's right there to progress or stop your progression onto the site. Also, he's very good at using the utility. You can see, just thinking on the fly right now, after that first kill comes in, just disappearing into the smoke, Molotoving off the other entrance, and Guardian can control all the fights he wants. Peeking around wide for anyone coming out that smoke, he knows the Molotov's covering from that angle. You see just the synergy these two have, almost pulling and pushing the T side, trying to enter onto the site. Rain is impossible to move playing around this smoke. You have to almost spray him. And it's just great read overall from the player while these smokes are up. That's what he loves to do, especially with this progression smoke is up from the T side, is he will just abuse it and almost punish you for even attempting to grab that checkers control, especially if you want to try and hit the site while that smoke is up. And if you do try and take this checkers control away for him and force him to play on the site, he's often not very happy about that. You can see as this smoke comes in and as the T side starts to move in, he's actually going to do a good job of using his utility as he hears them crossing and potentially separating the T hit. You see what this does is one player could potentially be crossing in Dexter, but he doesn't actually end up crossing. He wants to join up with the rest of his teammates. So that Molotov does a great job of separating and basically forcing out an extra smoke from the T side in this scenario. And then if you do try and grab checkers control, One, they've got this same setup again with Carrigan being in the vents. He's going to find the first player quite easily. But Rain wants to hang on to this position of the map. And you can see he's about to just peek this, and that's almost completely random. The only player can see him is the one jumping up. And it's just a play where you don't know what's going to happen in this checkers there. It's very hard to hold on to. You don't know whether to play anti-flash if Rain's just going to walk in. Or you could see also, Guardian has a flash right now. He could have flashed Rain into this position very easily. Rain doesn't even want the flash. He's just going to peek out dry. So many just different options, a flash or not a flash. It might not seem like a big deal, but it makes it so hard for the other team to read what you're going to do. And he will often just fight for this checkers control back with his own utility. And again, he used that smoke to cross back into this position, even after Greyhound thought it was actually cleared out. Other times, just checkers control isn't enough for Rain. He wants even more. He wants the whole B main to be his. So he will sometimes just fight for it. And they can set up in a multitude of ways after they grab this control. Obviously, you can just molly out Sunroom, but in this scenario, they're just going to take it out all by themselves. So he's going to play again with Guardian in this scenario. They're going to start off in their crossfire. They're not always in a rush. They will sometimes take this B main control early on, but other times, they'll just go onto the angle, get ready with their utility. We're going to see Guardian actually throw the smoke. That pushes any players off that are potentially holding out the back, such as DD is in this particular scenario. So after that smoke comes in, this is going to use a basic double nade and a flash to really try and punish anyone in this particular scenario, and Rain is in here as simple as that. So that one smoke makes it a lot easier to try and get in here. The double nade you can flash in different scenarios, but they were relatively confident, I think, in this one that there wasn't too many players in this scenario. But the double nade's a good insurance. Sometimes I use a Molotov. Obviously, you guys can probably imagine yourselves all the different scenarios that could come in. Now, once this happens, you notice in this particular round, mid control is securely Carrigan's. So there's a great setup you can run here for B main. Anyone that tries to come with this scenario, they're going to hit Guardians up first, followed by Rain. It's a great double peak. Rain can swing onto whoever he wants. Guardian's going to take all the attention, because often this B main control does come in, but they don't actually take Sunroom control. It's just to play those mind games with the T side as to what exactly is going in. So in this particular round, nothing really happens, but I just thought it was important to highlight the fact that these double peaks can come in. This great crossfire you can run out here if you think there's going to be some kind of B hit coming in, especially with the mid control still securely. Even Nico's got it now in this particular scenario. As soon as he's forced off, notice Guardian is moving as well, and Rain's just going to hold this good early information if it doesn't end up being this A hit that Faze expect it will be. And he's also got a really fast rotation in, or a flank, depending on what scenario comes in later in the round, opening up more avenues of attack basically to retake this A site if required. Another thing about this aggressive B main controls does open up the possibility of a very strong vent hold if mid control is lost, and it does feel like a bit of a B hit. You can just have these two players still here, one watching the entrance to B main if they're quite confident. Obviously in this one, they're going to peek together. Also notice the pistol rounds is a little bit less utility, but I have seen this done on gun rounds by Faze. This was the best example I have setting up for this particular round. So after mid control is lost by Carrigan in this scenario, see he's forced off the angle. Look at the rotation Rain's able to pull off. He's able to come back and really try and fight this vent entrance, which we all know is a very tight choke point, while Guardian has this lockdown, making sure no one's going to flank him through B main. So that's a very strong angle you can hold. He can concentrate on fighting these fights right now, taking out these players. Guardian is still here out towards this angle. He does lose his fight eventually, probably position himself a little bit poorly, maybe in the middle there. But still, you can see the advantages of having this aggressive B main pressure is if you want to play one player in the checkers, all they have to worry about is that vent setup, anyone coming through that particular avenue of the map, and it become a lot easier to hold that B split if it does come in from mid. The other thing you can obviously do with a B hold is play in vent. We've seen Carrigan do it a couple of times as that third player, but Rain will also do it as just that second player, particularly with Guardian as the AWPer. So heavy mid presence is often the key to this. You want one player watching your middle. In this particular scenario, it is going to be Carrigan trying to lock down this avenue as Rain gets himself into vent. The other thing to notice about that is he does 100% play with Guardian, even without the deep B main control. Guardian is always here with his AWP, trying to take this first fight. Carrigan's playing with him. There's always someone watching this more aggressive B main line for him to get in, use his counter utility. Notice he's holding on to quite a lot of utility right now, ready to fall away or use it as required, depending on what comes in from the opposition side. So notice right now he's just going to hold as these players come in. But I want you to notice as the players come back and hit B from Envious, how he's going to play this particular scenario. So Carrigan Guardian does end up going down. Scream ends up slipping past his sight. But notice how Rain plays this. Normally he'd fall out straight away or relatively quickly, or play depending on how Guardian's pick goes. But as this take comes in straight away. His goal right now is just to deny checkers. I've talked about this before in previous videos, but if you're a T side hitting the B site and you don't have checkers control, it's very hard to set up for afterplan or set up anything substantial to hold on to this B side, even if you do get the bomb planet. So you notice he's going to be particularly patient in this scenario, just making sure no one gets control of this area. And after he's confident the players have come through, notice how he leaves this part of the map. He checks B main first and positions himself, because of the smokes up, in a spot where he's basically just a thorn in the back of the envious side. It's going to be very hard for him to move anywhere. Carrigan can make his play off heaven because it becomes very hard to know exactly what Rain's going to do. He can trade Carrigan quite well. Doesn't actually go all the way of Faze in split the scenario. We can see how he falls out of the vent, checks B main first, his #1 priority, and then puts himself in a spot to really lock down that checkers and make it difficult for envious to progress onto the site. Not the case in this scenario, as his teammates and Carrigan and stuff don't really win their fights, but you can see the idea behind it. Will Nico win this clutch? I don't even know. He does. Look at that. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is this quite aggressive setup, so particularly with the pistols can be quite effective, watching the vent drop out and playing quite close here in B main. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can see how this crossfire works when mid control is locked. But that is it, guys. Make sure to leave me any feedback as per usual. Subscribe and like the video if you did, and I'll catch you all in the next one.